Thank you, Mr. Timmermans, for such an interesting talk. I think it's clear that the space sector is shaping society in many multidisciplinary ways, and society is also shaping space. I really love the way you told us about the importance of storytelling to convey the real power of space, and how at the center of these stories are people. And I think that's very important to introduce our first panel of the day. From this panoramic and inspirational landscape painted by Mr. Remco Timmermans, we will now move on to the first panel, which will allow us to zoom into how space can be used to help people and tackle everyday problems on Earth. So to this end, I would like to invite the speakers and our moderator to the stage. So I see Susana Prado, Ms. Susana Prado here. Thank you. You can sit just, there are photos here, so maybe we can follow the order. Okay. Great. So I have the honor to introduce our moderator, Mrs. Susana Prado. Trained as a computer engineer, Mrs. Prado has more than 30 years of experience in the tech industry and is now the general manager of Inetum in Catalonia, an international IT company dedicated to providing digital consulting services and solutions in more than 27 countries and with a workforce of more than 28,000 employees. In addition to her managing role within Inetum, Mrs. Prado has been a professor at the Universidad Rovira i Virgili for more than 10 years and combines her academic and professional life with many outreach initiatives to promote the role and work of women, not only in tech, but also beyond. So just to give you a few examples, she's the president of Donas en Valor, or Valued Women, from the commission of the 22 network, and she has received many awards for her advocacy work, including the 2019 Donatic Professional Award from the Department of Digital Policies of the Government of Catalonia, as well as a 2022 nomination to be part of the top 100 women leaders in Spain in the senior management category. So as you can see, we have an incredible moderator who will now introduce the rest of the speakers, and yeah, I'll pass the floor to you.
Thank you very much, Mariona. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here with us sharing this morning. We want to continue the history and with the applicability, with the use of this technology in the real business. As we have seen during the Congress, technologies advance are democratizing the space exploration, and this pushes the creation of the new commercial opportunities, new business model, and new economies. Global communication based on satellite constellation that improve connectivity in remote areas are provide high-speed internet access worldwide. Cloud technologies and space big data, navigation, positioning, and the Earth observation, and security and defense. And of all these pillars, sectors such as agriculture, logistics, transportation, and much more are rethought to be more efficient and always more sustainable. To discuss all this and learn more about new business, we have a panel here today with a luxury speakers who I'm going to introduce. They are also heroes of the space history. And first of all, we have, thank you very much to stay here. And the first, there are John Abel. John Abel is technical director of the Office of CTO at Google Cloud. Works in the sustainability group. John began his technology career almost 32 years ago, working on early artificial intelligence technologies. His experience in sustainability and data technologies has led him to be a renowned speaker, author, and industry commentator on innovation topics. John works in a diverse team, supporting STEM projects, and it's an ambassador for the British Dyslexia Association. Welcome, John. Thank you to be here. We have also Agustín Santamaría. Is Director of Data Solution and Artificial Intelligence at Microsoft, Doctor in Research in Technologies for the Development of Complex Software Systems from the Polytechnical University of Madrid. Agustín has more than 25 years of experience in the technology sector, leading end-to-end solutions in the field of artificial intelligence and security. In addition, Agustín has been a university professor, a researcher in the field of complex systems where he developed his thesis. He is passionate about innovation, digital transformation, and the social and positive impact of technology. Thank you very much, Agustín.
It's a pleasure.
And finally, we have Jorge Calvín. Jorge is the commercial director of Lobelia Earth, a leading company in Earth observation, satellite technology, and climate science in Barcelona. George has a master's degree in telecommunications engineering from the UPC, an MBA from IESE, and a master's degree in artificial intelligence. He has more than 20 years of experience in the space industry, covering the 3 domains: space, terrestrial, and user, and has worked for companies such as Ener, Indra, and OmniAccess, with emphasis always on commercial and technology developed in various fields. Welcome, Jorge.
Thank you.
How can you see a panel full of experience and knowledge? And we start with a generic question that allows us to know in more detail your professional and corporate relationship with the NewSpace. We start with Google, one of the leading technology companies and a reference in the digital sector. We all know and use Google Earth and Google Maps 20 years ago, with which we have been able to see how use of this technology makes our lives easier without physical maps. And John, what is Google's vision from the new space economy and its potential impact on the industry, and what kind of contributions, initiatives, or use case are you carrying out?
Yeah, first of all, it's brilliant being back in Barcelona. I forgot how much I missed it, especially the weather. So what a beautiful sunrise this morning. A lot of my work in sustainability is using satellite imaging. If you think about the work that we did with Unilever, for example, looking at plantations for palm oil, one of the challenges is a lot of the world's coverage is actually quite difficult to see. It's not like a modern Western continental city, which has got nice road maps. A lot of these plantations are in far-reaching areas. So one of the projects we did was actually to use satellite imaging. We could actually model deforestation. And there's obviously one of the things we think about when we do think about deforestation is the loss of trees. There's also forest management. If you go to certain parts of the world, especially in like Central Europe, Latvia, Lithuania, they do amazing work on forest management. But one of the projects we did with Unilever was to look at how we could combine the friction map of the planet. So if you think about the planet today, one of the hardest aspects of understanding illegal deforestation is actually the relationship between a plantation and a mill. Now, in the classic sense, they used to have a 50-meter circle, and so a 50-kilometer circle around the mill, and say within 50 kilometers roughly tells you where you get your palm from. The challenge with that is the friction map gives you an indication of actually how much friction's between plantation and actual mill, and actually sometimes it's shorter than 50 kilometers and sometimes it's longer than 50 kilometers. You might not be aware, but with palm, for example, you have to process it within a small amount of time. So one of the projects we did was using satellite image and then structured data, we could actually build a dynamic friction map of the relationship between a palm plantation and a mill to give insight to Unilever on where they should be exploring to make sure they actually identify illegal deforestation. But there is an example of how we're already using this, and I'm sure through this panel I'm going to give more examples, but no, there's hopefully it's an interesting example to show you to start off with.
Thank you very much, John. We continue with Microsoft, with the global vision, and the same question. How about the kind of contributions, initiative, and use case are you carrying out, Agustín?
Good question. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you. So the purpose of Microsoft, the Microsoft mission has been always the same from the beginning. It's empower every person and every organization in the world to achieve more. And this is the same mission that we have when we talk about space. Okay, so Microsoft has invested a lot in artificial intelligence and also in cloud, massive infrastructure for compute and networking. where the global connectivity is crucial beyond the Earth, and also artificial intelligence to gain insight rapidly from the space data is also very important, and also how to secure the data. At the end, in the context of the space, we are building a portfolio of solutions that we call Azure Orbital, Azure Cloud Orbital, but together with our industry partner, because we want our approach is an industry, a partner approach, no competitors in any way, okay? And we want to combine, or the aim is to combine all the possibilities of the space with the power of our cloud, in the case of computing, artificial intelligence, and try to develop the problems that the world is facing today. The toughest challenge that we have, like global security, sustainability, or climate changes. Okay, so at the end, our purpose is defining three principles. One is to connect anyone to the space, for sure, at any security level. Second, turn the huge amount of space data that we are having every day into knowledge and insight, rapid insight. This is very important. And third, that is also important, is to enable a rapid development of space software capabilities in order to have this application as soon as possible and to get insight and different kind of use of the space. This is our purpose.
Okay, thank you very much, Agustín. The case of Lobelia Earth is different. It was born and created for the first time as the downstream services unit of ISAR SAT with the aim of expanding knowledge of the Earth and thus improving the climate and the environment with its solutions. A concrete and exciting job. Jorge, tell us a little more about your company, please.
Yes, hello. Thank you for having me here today. Yes, at Lobelia, we intend to provide climate data and impact data. And to start explaining what we do, I'll start with storytelling. I think I had a nice example before. So imagine you are a company and you know the climate change is a fact, and you need to know what you need to do to be ready for the new climate. So you have some infrastructure, some assets spread around the world, and you need to understand what you need to do, where you have to invest to be ready for the new climate. So what we do is we use local climate models. We use several climate models to assess the uncertainty, because the question when you deliver climate data, when you make climate projections is, okay, how do you know this is true, and what is the uncertainty that comes with this data? So using several models is the way to somehow ascertain the uncertainty, but also, and then here comes the satellite parts, we use satellite observations to try to reduce the uncertainty and also analyzing the impact, because in the end, it's not just a matter of knowing what is the increase of temperature and so on, but what is going to mean for you, what is the actual impact in your assets, so floods and whatever that can be done using satellites. And also, because this needs to be done for everyone, satellites are providing a way to scale this up. So we also use satellites once we identify the risks and that are somehow and the vulnerabilities to the specific assets of your company. We also use satellites to monitor the risks. So once you know which are the risks, you can then track the risks using satellites. On the other side of things, companies also need to analyze and disclose their impacts in environment. So we also use satellites to track, to monitor ecosystems. So we are able to use satellites to quantify the amount of CO2 sequestered by a tree, or understanding the amount of water retained by the soil, for example. So this has applications in agriculture, but also it's important to assess this impact from the corporations in the environment.
Yes, it's interesting. Not only the climate change, but the impact of the climate change in the different industries.
Both sides. This is something that is now becoming more and more important. In fact, there is a mandate from the European Union to disclose all this information. So the only way to make this scalable and accurate enough is using satellites.
Okay. Looking at the Earth observation, climatology, and analyzing the impacts that climate change can have on different industries, we clearly see that the NewSpace helps and accelerates the understanding of the present and also of the future. Because the satellite data plays a crucial role in environment management and weather forecasting. To take extent, are satellite-based solutions being used to drive digital transformation in other sectors, like precision agriculture, natural resource management, or healthcare in remote areas?
Yeah, I think let me talk a bit about what I do in my day job, because it's probably part of this. So I use Google Earth Engine pretty much every day of my life. And what that is, it's a data set of about 900 curated data sets, about 70 petabytes of data. One of the changes that happened recently was actually a connection back into Google Cloud. And the reason we did that is that the world wants to use spatial data with structured and unstructured data. So one of the projects that I'm working on at the moment is similar to this, is to do with actually climate change, especially for mitigation and adaptation. These are the big challenges, probably more adaptation than mitigation. So you can now model, using the data sets, things like wildfires, you can do obviously droughts. The biggest challenge is you need to bring that back to an enterprise company or back to a company and relate it back to their data. So it could be an upstream supply chain that you're trying to work out impacts in your supply chain. You could now use the spatial related data with your commercial data to get new insights of where your exposure of risk is. And these are new projects that have appeared in the last few years that hadn't existed before. And we've already started seeing new businesses being built, like yourself, and also people like Climate Engine or NGIS that have developed Tracemark that looks at supply chain to actually work out traceability and actually not only doing it from an ethics point of view, but also a risk exposure point of view. So it's an exciting time, and I think technology's moved on so much more.
Agustín, with Microsoft also?
Oh, so we have a lot of scenarios, but as I said before, one of the key principles is to the connectivity, the access to the space, and in this case, and also to the cloud. So what I mean connectivity, or what I mean with connectivity, so we are creating with collaboration with SpaceX Starlink, and with our technology, Azure Edge devices, we are creating an integrated solution with 5G and satellite communication in order to make resilient communications with intelligent prioritization of the network using cellulars, fibers, satellites. And this is great if we think about natural disasters. For example, earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, wildfires. We have huge amount of natural disasters. And natural disaster communication is crucial. If a natural disaster happens, communication can be destroyed, and the safety of civilians can be compromised. And for that reason, we are exploring with Pegatron and CEs in Tissue Fire Department how to make resilient communication in order to have always connectivity, and at the same time to have rapid insight to make an intelligent response in the case of natural disaster. It's crucial to have good connectivity, resilient communication. Second, try to get the data for the environment, and at the same time to make intelligent response.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that the CEOs of the companies are actually thinking about the new space technology, how help us for the strategy for the future? Because you are analyzing the change climate and the impact in the different business. The CEOs are thinking about this. Is in his agenda?
My perception is maybe they are not exactly thinking on the new space opportunities itself, but what the need they have I mean, they know what they need, and I think it's on our side how we use the NewSpace to provide better and more precise data. The data is what they need. So maybe they don't understand the impacts or the implications of or the opportunities that the NewSpace is going to bring, are going to bring. It's in our side who are the ones who need to integrate this new data to come to provide better data sets, better products and applications for them.
Just one point, actually, which I think is a really good point made. Europe is a really rich set of public data sets. Most countries, like Spain, example, obviously a lot of the European Union, nearly all of the European Union, have got lots of public data sets. When you mix the public data sets with then satellite data sets, then with corporation data sets, you get huge new insights. Most CEOs don't really want to understand that technicalities. What they want is answers to business challenges. These could be ESG goals, this could be protecting supply chain, or it could be protecting revenue. So one of the jobs that we have to do as technologists is make sure we explain it in the context of business value, not necessarily the technical aspects, because they're quite challenging.
This is a challenge, and the business impact also.
Exactly, because this is our role to translate this data into the applications on whatever they need. We do, for example, in our site, we do a lot of work to develop ways to explore and discover huge data sets. The information many times is available already, but it's not easy to dive into the data set and make this discoverable and useful for the end user.
Okay. Always when we speak about data, the next question is directed, no? The cybersecurity, no? Because the cybersecurity is a constant concern in the digital age. How do you ensure the security of communication and data transmitted through your satellite networks?
Who wants to answer that one?
Wow, cybersecurity. I'm secure right now. So in the past year, it was incredible because in the past year, more than 120 countries was attacked. Okay, and 40% of this country was from the NATO countries, and the rest was important critical infrastructure, public and private one. Okay, so Microsoft, we think that the unique defense is to have a collective defense, because the attackers are using, in this case, maybe the space data as well, but also artificial intelligence to refine phishing messages or to create imagery, synthetic imagery, to make more efficient in the attack. But also the defense, like us, okay, we have the defensor of this. We are using also artificial intelligence, okay, to collect of this space data and to create insight from this space data in terms of security in this case, and to detect, respond, analyze, and respond rapidly. And this is what Microsoft think at the end. So we're investing right now around $20 billion from 2021, collecting the space data as well, and also here on the air with mobile network. We have more than 3,500 security experts around 77 countries that are flying from one country to another country and getting telemetry of what is happening and sharing this telemetry in different centers. Okay, so for us, is crucial and space data, and there is another thing very important. Space data is crucial to make effective response, but also we have to think that the satellites and the space asset must be protected, because we have more capabilities in the space, and is something that every attacker is seeing. Okay, so I want to attack that because I have much more power if really I have access to all the capability that the space can give me.
Yes.
No, please.
I can talk about the implications of the lack of security or data security or lack of or not being protected. In our case, again, talking about this example, imagine you are exploring and discovering the vulnerabilities in the assets of a big corporation. Obviously, this is something no one wants to become public. Imagine you are a big corporation and you don't want everyone to know where are your assets located and which vulnerabilities are detected regarding the climate change. So it's very important in our side to have this information very, very much secured. So we do in all possible ways, we keep it really, really protected.
And I think it's an interesting time because security is always the #1 job. Yeah. We can't avoid it. It's the one that we worry about. It doesn't matter what type of technology you use. One of the things that's really important is in this community using satellite data, there's a lot of open source technology. One of the things we did recently was actually open source how we protect open source. So one of the, you may or may not know, but Google uses a large amount of open source and we have a secure supply chain for that. We've open sourced that. The other challenge with data is explaining outcome. A lot of the work that I use is artificial intelligence and more now generative AI. And one of the things we have to do is actually have explainability of actually how we got an answer. Mm-hmm. So again, those tools are open sourced as well. So tools like What If that goes through the process of how an AI model got a result, or Facet that looks at the data repository are all open source. And it's important to know that actually when you're dealing with security, your threat analysis means that you really have got to look at all aspects of it. If you look at most hyperscalers like ourselves and Microsoft, it's our #1 job as well. But what's really important is to know that you've got the tools and the techniques and also people with experience that you could utilize. So I always say with this threat area, partnerships are critical and collaborations are even more important because we can't do it on our own. And it is a very challenging job to be done, but it's always the most important one to be done.
Okay, you advance, no? But given the growing importance of satellite data, how are you collaborating with other companies or governments to promote innovation and expansion of the space capabilities? There are some global accords or something?
I can talk about one that is quite an interesting one. Is in the fashion industry, one of our partnerships is with Stella McCartney, and actually we're looking at the supply chain and actually using various different technologies like satellite imaging and also supply chain analytics. We've got the ability to look at the process of upstream. One of the hardest problems that most organizations have is when they're dealing with their suppliers, they know of their tier ones, so it may be the top 5% or even 10%, if you're lucky, 10%. Most companies can't even get past the top 10 or 12 number of suppliers. If you think of most organizations, they're going to have tier 2 and tier 3 and tier 4, and those ones may not be even identifiable to them. So modeling using spatial related data is really important because then you can see exposures, you can see risks, you can also get insights that you couldn't get before, especially if you're into physical manufacturing of products. A lot of the work I do is around timber, and most of the work I seem to do is around forest management. And I would say that we're now getting new insights through satellite imaging, especially things like carbon sequestration or carbon capture. We're starting to now explore those areas to work out what is actually occurring in our forests. And this is really important work because we need, if you look at the European Union, there's really good guidance and now regulation coming in around biodiversity. And I believe biodiversity is going to have a huge user of spatial related data, especially biomass, etc.
And Microsoft?
So in Microsoft we have different platforms related to the space data to give value to the customer. One of them is in terms of supply chain. So we have invested a lot in the space data in the last years to improve our supply chain operations. And this experience and this learning has been used to create a platform. We are a company platform, so to create a platform that is called Microsoft Business Supply Chain Platform. Sorry. So this platform is an open platform that is going to provide as a service, okay, different services related to the supply chain operation with artificial intelligence, collaboration, low code, and different kind of application to provide, for example, product tracking inventory, or how to operate virtuously toward the commitment to protect our environment, to detect in real time what's happened with different issues in the supply chain operation as well. So we are getting even more space data in this year and in the next one, and that we're going to store this raw data into this platform to provide more sophisticated response and to offer to. In fact, we have right now around 20 customers that they are using this platform, because this platform is relatively new. It was created in 2022.
From our side, we cooperate with, from the upstream side of things, we cooperate with institutions like ESA, providing requirements for the future missions, because we know what the users are going to need, and then we can help them to define the future missions. But we also work, regarding NewSpace, we are in talks with newcomers, new companies in the new space, somehow being the early testers of their satellites, to also for us to identify potential applications. We are currently, for example, going to use the Minute satellites in a project for soil moisture, and this is for us very helpful, because this helps us to complete our portfolio. Also, it's helpful for them to understand what's their business case. And then from the downstream point of view, we cooperate with companies such as engineering companies. We provide the climate data, but they have to translate this climate data into vulnerability and risk, actual risk and financial impact. So many times, and always, we are continuously working with them to build this combination to make this data really useful for the purposes of the end users. And then finally, we also need partners, because in the end, we have the climate data, but we also need, talking about biodiversity, many times we integrate in our platforms information from in situ data, local measurements, or anything else that in the end makes the full picture useful for the end user.
Okay. To improve and to accelerate the use of this technology in the different business, because there are very transversal possibilities in different business and different economies. How do you see the role of regulation in the sustainable development of the space in this sector? Yeah, because it's important to the development.
Correct. I think first of all, it's really good to see a lot of the regulatory aspects coming in, especially in biodiversity, and I'm biased towards biodiversity, so that's the world that I sort of live in. The one thing I feel that we're going to have to spend more time on, and it's good to see it's now progressing, is data standards. One of the biggest challenges that I have with biodiversity data, depending which data sets I'm using, if I'm using like a GBIF, if you don't know what that is, Darwin Core Archive, it's the scientific names of different plant types. The challenge is that's one standard, then I have another standard, then I have another standard. So when we're starting to do ground source truth data, trying to amalgamate like ground source truth, then with satellite imaging is quite a complex data magic tree. You know, you're doing a lot of magic with data interoperability. So I think data interoperability is going to be important and continuously to be important. And it's really good to see that like the UN Environmental Programme's been looking at this. And I'm excited to see what comes out of COP28, hopefully around data.
I fully agree with you. I mean, standardization and standard metrics are crucial also, because if we need to make this data really useful, we need to have standard metrics. And also for us, because this is also our way to have standard solutions. So for us, this is also crucial. It's very, very, very important.
As I said before, our approach is partner-driven. So it doesn't happen if we don't have a standard. So we need a standard for everything, okay, and also for the data. So for sure we are aligned on this.
And standardization is also a tractor. I mean, it's tracking the market. In the end, if there is a framework that somehow forces you or makes you think that they do something, then this creates also the market. Otherwise, there is no structured marketplace as such. So in the end, we need the regulation for the market to happen. So it's very important.
And I think we're starting to see it with like TFND and TFNC.
Exactly.
These are financial levers that are being introduced. A lot of the challenges, they're very well defined. Getting well qualified data to map to those standards and those requirements is really tricky. So a lot of the day job I do with financial institutes is exactly this, and it's probably a big part of your world. It's probably one of the biggest growing areas. So I would certainly keep a track of it and actually start investing it. And I think the EU taxonomy will have a huge implication, especially for agriculture and agritech. If you're into agritech technology, I really advise you to look at things like EU taxonomy going forward. It's really important.
Okay. We are speaking about the transformation of the business, of the companies. How about the user, or for example, the citizen? It's a technology to B2B to society. This kind of technology can transform the user experience with new services or with new capabilities.
Yeah. I think we're going to see a step change in the next few, maybe months, maybe years, I don't know. One of the technologies we talk about a lot at the moment is generative AI. And one of the big benefits I find that I use at the moment is a lot of layperson don't have the technical depth to understand these complexities. And all they want to do is talk to data. They want to ask questions. And a lot of businesses use operational reports to make business decisions. We're moving into a generation where you can actually have a discussion with the data, structured or unstructured, through these things called generative AI, large language model. And we're already starting to see it. You know, there will be questions like, is today going to be a really hot day? What's the best walk that I propose to my office to keep in the shade? Or is it going to rain today? It's not, people just don't want to look at the weather forecast in the end. They want to actually engage with the data. And that's why I'm so excited by things like generative AI, because it gives a new ability in a multilingual way and multimodal way to have engagement with data without the need of technologists.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, for example, we are currently providing air quality services at the street level in cities. So now citizens can combine this information with Google Maps, for example, and then we can provide, for example, the optimum way to go from one place to the other, following the less polluted path, for example. So this creates awareness and provides several possibilities for the end user. And this is going to increase more and more.
For sure, artificial intelligence is very important. We are completely aligned, okay? But a part of that, so we are working right now in a project with CES to create more scenarios for end user. So we are now designing how to deploy AI application directly to the International Space Station. We will host Azure device there, okay? It's like to extend our cloud capabilities directly to the space. It's not cloud, it's cloud space or something like this, okay? And this is going to, what for? Is to enable more application directly there, okay? But also, we want to virtualize the satellites and ground network. Why? Because it's the same that we are doing right now with the telcos here on the Earth. We are now transforming the mobile network into a universal mobile network, open API, where you have the control of the capabilities of the mobile network. Imagine, if you have the control of the latency, throughput, etc., you can make real the autonomous car or autonomous drones, for example. If we translate this to the satellite communication, we have the same. we can have an open and programmable satellite communication. And this is what we want, to standardize, to have more interaction, cross interoperability across the industry, for example, and to create more scenarios for companies and also for the user. For example, aviation, that is very critical, or even critical infrastructure from government with stringent requirements and certification, where they cannot update and cannot control of all the capability that the satellite communication can do. So I think we think that we have two important, in terms of technology, two important things. One is artificial intelligence, for sure. This is something very, 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 very close of the end user. And the other one is communication, but open the communication, the satellite communication, standardize this, okay, in order to create more use cases around this.
Okay. We are arriving to the end of the panel, and continues with the first speaker. We go to dream. How do you imagine your participation in the new space evolving in the coming years?
Well, it's hard to also, at the moment, predict it a few days, let alone a few weeks or years. I think what we do know is that there's like 3 things that we've got to do. One, we've got to lower the bar for more people to collaborate and share. One of the most used platforms in Google is kaggle.com, which is a big science community of sharing data. We have to make sure that space-related data is also shared in an equal way, and I know there's many people undergoing that task. The second is we need to de-technicalize it, and what I mean by that is remove some of the technical complexities and make it something, again, for the wider mass to use. And then the last job is we've got to make it relative to people in their daily lives and businesses. We have to keep exploring and making sure the business benefits are articulated clearly. And I think if we do that over the next few years, and we use a lot of the emerging technologies now that are only at the start of the journey, it's going to be really exciting to see what's actually going to occur. And I can't wait to see. And I think most of it's going to come from the SMEs. I think we've got a real importance to grow small and medium enterprises into becoming those authorities, because there's so many jobs to be done.
Okay. Jorge?
So for us, it's like a huge opportunity, because for us, it's like we are going to have many different options of small satellites focusing in specific problems. So until now, we have few options, very powerful, but somehow less flexible. And this is going to bring us a lot of opportunities, because we are going to have, I don't know, a constellation focused on fire detection, another constellation on green gas detection, whatever. This gives us a lot of data for us to build more and more complex and tailored applications for our end users. So for us, it's an exciting times to come, and we are really, really happy, and we will be very much involved in the development and helping the newcomers to bring this data we finally need.
Yeah, so I fully agree with all of you. So from Microsoft, so we are dedicated fully to the democratization of this, okay, and standardization, like my colleagues, and we are incorporate more space data and space technology into our portfolio, just for one reason, to be used, okay, for all the industry partners and end users. This is what we want. I would like to talk about specific cases related to security, related to how to use this in our daily day. This is very important in our in our day, okay, and that's all.
We will see in the next Congress, the next year. And it has been really interesting and enriching. We have been left in, but we must adjust the time and agenda. We can continue talking in the coffee break. And thank you very much to everyone, to the speakers, to the public, and all the collaboration of the Congress. Thank you so much. And may you have a fantastic, stellar, and satellite digital future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.